Let me introduce myself. I'm a social disease.
Hey buds, Mike Oldfield and Andrew Gold here. What do you consider a vibe? A particular combination of atmospheres and senses that make you say, I'm vibing right now. Vibing meaning relaxed, chill, and just absorbing the feelings you get from your surroundings. I believe that, while the feeling of vibing is the same for everyone, the things that invoke that feeling will vary person to person. For example, what I consider prime vibe capacity for myself is the smell of a distant campfire, a mug of black coffee, and the sounds of late night CBC radio. This gives me vibes, but might not give you vibes. It's like nostalgia in more ways than one. The trigger for it is different for everyone, and most often, that trigger is music. And if there is one band that makes me vibe, it's Steely Dan. That's right, I'm talking about music again. Now, Steely Dan is a jazz fusion soft rock band that is well known for their massive hits early on in their career, like Reeling in the Years and Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Songs that have been played so often over the years that people know the song without remembering how or where they heard it. When I discovered them in my high school years, their warm, smooth, and softer sound was quite the relief from the majority of harsh and heavy music I was listening to at the time. I believe it's always a good idea to have some songs that are diametrically opposed in sound to what you are most often listening to at the time. I mean, Steely Dan uses horns, for goodness sake. You can't feel angry when you hear horns. It's impossible. To quote Steve Hughes,
See, I love all forms of heavy metal. I love heavy metal, thrash metal, black metal, death metal, and Enya, actually. I know you think it's a bit of a joke. It's not a joke. Most of you haven't listened to Slayer for 8 hours in one day, and you get up to that type of nonsense. You do need something to relax in the afternoon, don't you?
And Steely Dan is my Enya. I consider myself to be quite the boomer, which makes sense as to why I love Steely Dan so much, as it is quite a boomer band, having their heyday from 72 to 80, back in the good old days of Watergate, tetraethyl, and when boomers were at their most powerful.
I'm just saying.
I've always been drawn to older music. I don't know, it just sounds unique. I don't have the musical knowledge to determine why exactly that is, but I like it. Speaking of older music, the next artist is one of the most prominent progenitors of a genre of music I had known about but never really listened to. House music. Chicago house and deep house specifically. That artist is Larry Heard. Ever heard of him? I don't deserve a platform. Now, until recently, house was an alien genre to me. I mean, I knew Daft Punk, and I knew that they were French house, but I thought that was its own thing, and not just a twig off the larger house branch, which itself is off the massive electronic trunk. I discovered Larry Heard and house music in general a couple months ago when I was listening to the Stingray Music channel on my TV. Stingray Music being a Canadian audio service that has TV channels with specific music playlists on them. I was listening to The Chill Lounge in search of some good background music for videos when the song Crystal Fantasy by Larry Heard came on. The same song I used in my last Rimworld video. When I heard it, I was immediately intrigued and captivated by its relaxed daydream-like feeling it gave me. After the song ended, I looked up the album the song was from, Ice Castles, and oh boy was I hooked. The sound on this album reminds me of vaporwave, but clean, straight, jazzy electronic music without all the distortion and speed changes that vaporwave is known for. This album is truly fantastic for vibing, as well as background music for doing just about anything. Larry Heard has many other albums under different names, the most famous one being Mr. Fingers, but of all I've listened to, Ice Castles remains my favorite, and it might just be yours too. Moving away from older artists, I'm gonna talk about something modern, contemporary, popular even. An artist by the name of Oliver Tree. If you don't recognize the name, you might recognize his signature appearance, and if not that, his music, which has become quite popular. I, for one, discovered Oliver Tree much later than most people my age, on account of, boomer. I mean, I had heard his song Hurt back when it was released in 2018 because it was just so popular, but I didn't really know who he was until quite recently when I listened to Alien Boy after being intrigued by the thumbnail. After that, all I remember is a haze of binging his music. I went all in, and let's just say, I wasn't disappointed. Oliver Tree is a unique popular artist in that I really can't pin down his music to a specific genre. There's aspects of electronic, hip-hop, rock, and pop in his music. According to Wikipedia, they say he's alternative rock. Well, I can say they got the alternative part down. Regardless of what genre Oliver Tree's music is, what I can say is that it's pretty good. Honestly, I'm just glad that I finally know a modern artist I can talk about with other people my age that they actually know about. Now we are going to get into the metal music. My favorite part, if you can't tell already. The first one being Razor. No, not that kind of razor. Or that one. Definitely not that one. I'm talking about the raw and razor-sharp underrated member of the Big Four of Canadian thrash metal, Razor. Recently, I had the pleasure of discovering this Canadian thrash classic whilst browsing YouTube. When I had a listen to their second album, let's just say I immediately went out and bought it on vinyl, as you can see on my Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, by the way. Now, I am quite familiar with thrash metal. It's the metal genre I listen to most, after all. But I never really listened to a band as breakneck and violent as Razor. I don't know if that means Razor is one of the best metal bands ever, or I just need a larger variety of thrash bands to listen to, but what I do know is that Razor is doing something right. If you want to listen for yourself and try and see what I mean, listen to their album Evil Invaders. Besides, it's really good. Just make sure to listen to Razor in appropriate environments, 'cause
watch out.
The music will make you want to mosh around the classroom during silent reading. Daniel, you are supposed to be reading. Daniel, stop! Last band I will talk about this video is also a metal band, and another underrated one at that. The French metal band that's not Gojira, Sortilege. Now I discovered Sortilege the same way most English speakers did, through Chuck Schuldiner, which if you have watched my experience on metal, you know I am a big fan of. And of course, the frontman of my favorite band would have great taste. What makes Sortilege unique is that, as a heavy metal band, they are not afraid to get melodic and classical with their music, especially on their album, L'Arme des Héros. An album I like so much, I have a shirt of it. They are also unique in that their albums sung in French sold better than the ones sung in English, which never happens. I mean, it makes sense why they decided to go more melodic. I mean, the French language isn't exactly known for being harsh and brutal. The vocalist plays to the strength of the French language and has some really beautiful and amazing singing in all their albums. Well, few albums. It's a fantastic listen for when you are feeling heavy metal, but not burdensome metal. My name is Olden Gold, and that was another video on me talking about music. I hope you liked it and got something out of it. If you enjoyed this video, then consider subscribing for more. Also, follow me on Twitter